Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bikini in the Brain. I am here with the lovely and patriotic Ashley Cotwalser, straight out of Rocky Balboa's movie.
That was left.
Scary. That's scary. That's how it looks. That's scary.
Definitely.
Stay back. So we have ourselves an exciting week going on this week.
Mm-hmm.
First off, Ashley, congratulations. Your client won the overall.
Oh, Jackie. Yes. Congratulations to Jackie.
Yeah, Jackie at the Nevada, at the
Legends
Legends Classic.
Classic.
Yeah. So good job, Coach Ashley.
Thank
You know, racking up another dub. You do good.
Mhm.
You do pretty good considering how few people you work with, during your competition season. You do a great job. So
They work hard.
They do. Good clients make it easy, right? That's like
Absolutely.
you. Make it super easy. Like
I don't know if I'm an easy client.
you're a high volume client, but you're an easy because you don't come in up 20 pounds at an off season, up 30 pounds. Like that's easy. When someone's following their diet, it's like, okay, they just have to fine tune. It's, but when how it is, if someone's has to work so hard every time, that's a hard client.
Yes.
Yeah. But you're high volume. You are.
Yes.
Your hardest thing is what show are you doing this month? It could be all of them. It could be another one. It could be like, I don't know if she's competing in a week. I don't know. We'll find out on Wednesday.
Yes. I'm very unpredictable.
That's the thing. So speaking of competition season, we have ourselves posing seminar.
Yes. Our first Team Elite Physique posing seminar, correct?
Yes.
The first one that we have here at our own facility.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. We're trying to do a little bit extra this year, being a little extra, and there's going to be a whole bunch of things. So if you are, this is not just for Team Elite Physique athletes, but of course there's some parts that are going to be specific for Team Elite Physique athletes, but we're doing a whole bunch of things. We have a seminar from 10 to 11 is going to be bikini and fit model. And then we're going to have, if any of you have questions and want an assessment on your physique, come to the seminar early because it looks like it's going to be bigger than I thought it was. So come to the seminar early. I guess we'll stay at 9:30, open the doors. I'll be here. And if any of you want to kind of get an assessment on your physique, on where you think it should be, whether you think you should compete in 16 weeks or wait a year or do fit model or bikini, whatever, happy to do that for you guys then. And then we're going to do a mechanics seminar after
something new.
Yeah, something new. Basically going over like some exercise mechanics, just some Q&A, going over some things in the gym that maybe will help you with your workouts.
Yes. And I do want to point out something here because I feel like a lot of times girls are intimidated by they think they have to be in a bikini and heels. You don't have to be. Like if you want to come in your booty shorts or leggings and tank top or whatever, do what you got to do. If you want to wear tennis shoes, you can wear tennis shoes. Of course, it's preferable to have a bikini and heels, but you don't have to. If you're off season, doesn't matter. It's fine. But hey, when you get close to the show, that's when you got to do the whole shebang. But for now, it's better than nothing. So come one, come all. You can bring your friends.
Yeah. If you're the only time I'll say bikini would be if you're close to a show or if you're wanting the assessment.
The assessment.
A lot of times,
we can't do it in snowsuits, unfortunately. Yeah.
I have girls who ask me, what do you think of my physique? And they're like wearing like full, I'm like, I can't even see it. Like, what do you want me to do here? So that would be the only time. But yeah, other than that, feel free, come and just have fun and understand that most of the people coming are beginners. They're not, you will have some higher level people. We might separate the rooms if need be. But a lot of them are just getting started and still, or just want to take part of the group. They might be advanced. They just want to take part of the group posing, which will go through like show scenarios and really just have you ready. So I like to do it. It's fun. I get to meet new people. I can't work with everyone, so this is a great way for me to meet people and give back and whatnot too.
Yep. So that is this Saturday, February 22nd. Start time is 10 a.m. And that is the Contest Prep Center here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
Address?
1176 Vegas Valley Drive in
I didn't
Las
memorize
Vegas. There you go. I have 3 houses on this street. Isn't that crazy?
You better memorize.
Is it? Yeah, I know. It's like we just call them by the number. So the as far as seminars go, if you want to come to another one, go to the website, teamelitephysique.com. We have seminars all year. We'll have one every month until probably like November or something too. So you can come to any of them. Most of them are going to be open. So anyway, with that being said, we are going to do an episode today on setting up your perfect diet. We're going to call it your perfect diet as it applies to you. So I think what I want to do, and this is, of course, we're co-owners of this podcast, Ashley. And what I was talking to Ashley last week was, I was like, I want to do some episodes that are really dive into bodybuilding subjects and, you know, of course do our other ones too, but some that are really like more the things that you guys want to hear. Because we've been doing this a long time, like 3+ years. So we run out of
3
topics.
plus. Oh, way more than that.
How were we at now? 2019, huh?
I thought it was 18.
18. Gosh.
Or was it 19?
Has it been that long? It's
It's a long
crazy.
time.
5 years. Yeah. So I was looking through them. And when we talk about these subjects, and I told Ashley last week, I was like, the problem is we've done that kind of done something similar, even though it's a little different. It's like we've done something similar. So we're on it. I talked to Ashley, like, you know, I want to just put out good episodes because if people want to listen to those things, they can kind of go back. So I want, if you guys have suggestions on things that will actually help you guys, we want to do that. Like we want to give you our experience and our years. As we've said, we can't work with everyone. It's just not possible. Some people, one, we can't take on the volume. I don't want to take on the volume. And some people just can't afford it. So we want to like give back, which is to the community that's given us so much, you know, but we have a lot of years of experience. If you take all of our combined years of experience, you know, it's a lot. It's a, you know, we have decades and decades of experience. Just me alone. I started working nutrition stores at 16, you know, so I want to be able to give that back and make it easier for you, make it easier for other coaches to learn to pass this whole skill along. And we've done like hundreds of episodes. So we read out at least some of the subjects. I'm like, gosh, I don't ever want to say we're getting repetitive, but it's kind of impossible not to when you're doing 300+ episodes, right? So we want to kind of hold it back in. So you might have noticed we weren't here last week. That was my reasoning, was me. I was like, let's try to like figure out what we can change and make it a new evolution of this thing, and a bikini in the brain 2.0 kind of thing. So yeah, that's where we're at. But we need suggestions of good things, guys, that you guys want. Is that okay to say? Yeah. So this one, I thought, you know, I did a video a few years back on how to set up a perfect diet. It was one of the videos that did a lot of people watched. A lot of people said me positive things, still tell me positive things for in the like I'll just be at random places. Like, I saw your video, I created my diet because you told me how. That's crazy. You know, it's one of the crazier videos that I've had people tell me they've set up, just regular people set up their diet for. So I thought, okay, why don't we do this for the bikini athletes and kind of hold all the like what would work specifically for you, because it's going to be different for everyone. So kind of give you some suggestions and stuff too. And Ashley's got a ton of experience with that stuff.
Yeah, you know, I do. I'd like to think so anyway.
So, all right. So I guess first thing we'll do is go into, and if you guys have questions, throw them in the YouTube, because we're getting some already. But if you guys have any questions, just throw them in. First thing we got to do is, okay, figure out when we're talking about how to create the perfect diet for the bikini competitor, whatever, got to figure out what is your long-term goal. And I think everyone has to ask themselves that. Anything you want to cover on that, on like long-term goal figuring out before we can go into the diet?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you see diets, a lot of times you'll find it through maybe a YouTube video. You're watching a day in the life of your favorite bikini competitor, and she's eating this and this and this. And you might be wondering, well, why am I not eating like that? And I'm eating so much less and I'm unable to get results, or I'm eating more. Keep in mind, a diet is specified for you, and that's not going to apply to everyone. So you'll find out as we go into this further that maybe some of the, I guess, techniques and things you used to think about how to start a diet aren't true. Yeah. And there's better, more reasonable ways to go about a diet. And if we're thinking about long-term goals, keep in mind too, you could get super lean quickly, but maybe that's miserable and you can't keep up with it. So there's different ways to go about dieting, of course, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to find something that correlates with your lifestyle. Yeah.
So we have to figure out, one, what is the short-term goal? What is the long-term goal of the client? And that's something that we should, know when you basically get started on any plan or one that you're creating for yourself. Okay. So maybe the long-term goal is, and I had this conversation with a client the other day, was they want to be a pro, right? Long-term goal, they want to be a pro, right? But her short-term goal was she wants to compete 3 times this year and she needs a lot of muscle, but she wants to be a pro by next year, she was saying. I was like, you can't, like, we can't do both of those things. Those goals combat each other. Like, that's like having your cake and eating it too, right? Which is weird saying to say, because why would you ever buy cake and not eat it? Like, that's just like, what, I can't buy this and eat it? It's such a stupid saying. But anyway, you know what I mean, right? Isn't that a dumb saying?
It is.
Like, it's like having your cake and eating it too. What else would you do with it?
Right? I don't look at it.
What else would you do? It's
Smell
such a
it.
stupid saying. Like, no, you buy cake and you stare at it. That's it. That's such a, anyway, I thought about that one. So, when we're talking about diet and you know which direction you travel, you got to look at your physique and say, okay, my long-term goal is to be a pro. Well, if I'm undersized in muscle, like in that athlete's scenario, you need to pick one. I'm going to be dieting and doing 3 shows this year, which is going to hold me back a little bit from getting to that pro level physique, right? Remember, we use Ashley a lot as an example. She was not someone who needed a lot of muscle to be competitive. She competed and she got to the level of muscle while competing, but she didn't need, 10 pounds of muscle. She needed to like a little bit more in the shoulders, a little bit fuller in the glutes. That was like it. And it was, so yeah, it took her a little longer to get there because she's always doing shows, but she got there. So a lot of times people will see that as an example and say, oh, I can do that too. And I'm like, yeah, not if you need 10 pounds of muscle, like maybe in 10 years, but you're not giving yourself 10 years. You're giving me 2 years. You're giving me a year and a half. I want to be a pro by next year. So you have to look at it and say, okay, all right, my realistic goal then is one of those two. It's either go on stage this year and have fun with it. Understand that, I'm probably going to be placing top 5. I'm not going to be going in there and probably crushing it and winning every overall because I'm not muscular enough yet. And to get to that physique, I need to take that time and invest it into growing. So you got to look at what's the goal first, long-term goal. My suggestion to that client was basically both those. I will support you if you want to do small shows, but understand we're just trying to go and have fun and hopefully getting some medals, but you winning the overall, not super likely this year. And you getting a pro card, not super likely this year because we haven't built up to have been dieting the whole year. It's unlikely. So figure out what that is first and have a real self-talk with you and then say, okay, now I'm going to set up my diet specific to my goal. Let's say that client went with the goal of getting to the pro status and building up enough muscle. Well, we then need to figure out, okay, where is her calories going to be at? And so for those of you just listening, I put this in the description already. So you guys can see, just click the link in the description for a BMR calculator. I just pulled one up on Google. Hopefully this one's a good one. Doesn't give everyone pop-ups. It didn't give me any pop-ups, but I'm going to bring this up here so you could see it. And I put myself in there already that you guys can see. I just put in basic stuff. I'm 42 years old. I'm 5'9". And my weight's 194, and it gives me a kind of a BMR calculator of where my calories are. This is going to be a rough estimate. I work out, I exercise. So if you look at like the different boxes of you would call like your active metabolic rate, right, where you take into account your exercises and movement that you do per week. Mine would fall into the daily exercise or intense exercise 3 to 4 times weekly. So a good estimate of calories for me would be 2,661. It'll be different for every one of you. So that'd be a good like starting point as a calorie base. Okay. And any of you guys can do this. Just type in the info, go to that link and figure out where your base is. Now, here's the thing. Ashley's a coach. I could tell you right now, that's going to be right in the middle, directly in the middle where everyone averages calorie wise. But how many people have you worked with that they should be burning that many calories and they don't, or the opposite, right?
Yes. Sometimes it's like, it makes sense on paper, but when you apply it, it's like, maybe not so much.
Yeah. So how do we decipher that? Like, what's the best way of figuring out, okay, this is going to be my starting point of calories as my maintenance calories. And then where do I kind of go from there? Right. And this is where every coach has to kind of figure things out for the athlete, or athlete figures out for themselves, whatever. We figure out, okay, I look at their previous diet and see where their calories were kind of at. So that gives me another good baseline. So I have 2 merging numbers to work with where I say, okay, she's probably around here somewhat calorie wise. And then I look at the goal. Okay. If the goal is 20, like I said, what was I, 2,700 around there is for me, and I want to lose body fat, I'm going to start there maybe at like a 500 calorie deficit for someone like me. So I'll start me off at 2,200 calories, and then that'll be like my baseline, right? And so we'll go into the baseline stuff. And then with baselines, we want to get, what do we get? Info we get from the clients.
we get how much they just burn, based on everyday life.
Yeah,
Just every day, just normal.
and then they'll check in with their weight, their measurements, and all that info. And then that'll be kind of like the baseline information. So that's what you would do too. You'd get your info and say, okay, this is my baseline. This is my starting point. I'm going to eat this many calories for a week. And then in another week, I'm going to see what the differences are. And I'm going to make an adjustment. And then that second week, third week, you really have the info. You have like the workbook of how many calories this person actually burns. So let's say it was me and I had 2,700 calories and I ate 2,200. And then I lost let's say 8 pounds, something crazy in 2 week period. Well, maybe I'm burning more calories than I thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that happens all the time, like all the time.
Yeah. I think sometimes we don't even realize with the foods we're eating, we might be a little bit off and maybe we're not paying super close attention, but by doing this little, I guess, test to see, it's much easier to kind of decipher, wait, I might be a little too generous when I'm, putting in my creamer, because it really forces you to stop and look at your diet too. Like, am I being as precise as I need to be? Because most of us aren't.
Yeah. Most people are when they're guessing in their head, their 40% is like the studied off mark.
Right.
It's so crazy because when you think about it as a coach, like we're both coaches. So when we're making adjustments to people's plans, it's like 10, 15%, like little thing. But if you're off by 40%, how am I making any adjustments that make any sense?
Right.
It's like just randomized data the next week. It doesn't even, there's nothing to use, Yeah. And so all of this is basically like guessing and checking and using the data and applying it to the previous week's check-in. And then every week we just see this progressive like difference, And so it does require you being very accurate to get that data though. We need that software program.
So that's why, like, especially on the first few weeks, it's probably best to not do a cheat meal that week, because when we are talking about going out to eat, there comes some imprecise measurements, of course, because we don't really know how they're preparing our steak and our potatoes sometimes. So just to err on the side of caution, sometimes it's nice just to withhold that for at least a few weeks.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that, especially because those first few weeks of data collection is so critical for the client and for the coach to try to make those like accurate adjustments. So, it's all it is, guys. It's just I look at it. I try to take. It sucks because if you can take the human element out of creating a diet, it works so much better. But the problem is there is a big human element in the diet, and then you have to take that into consideration next. But I like to look at it as, A plus B equals C result, right? So it's calories plus cardio plus supplements plus workout equals X result. So that's my formula. If you throw off that A plus B plus C plus D, you take one of those out of the equation, well, then I don't have anything to work with, So it is unfortunately somewhat robotic to get that precise data information from the client back, which requires the client being good, requires them being perfect. I hate doing check-ins. Not personally hate doing check-ins. I should say, rephrase it. I feel bad about doing a check-in where I can't do anything. Like, I feel like, I'm not doing my job. Like, I'm like, well, sorry, we don't have the data this week. We'll have to just wait till next week. Like, I hate doing it because it's like, man, that's a check-in for that person. They paid for that check-in,
Yeah.
And it's like, but I don't have there's nothing I can do. I just make stuff up.
I think sometimes also what will happen is they'll feel ashamed to not tell you if they have something. Whereas if they just had extra and they tracked it, it might be a little easier to kind of get your plan together, and you can get a better idea. So if you do cheat, it's nice to know how much you went over.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, if I have clients that will say I was perfect on plan, but I had 2,300 calories extra on whatever day. That's helpful too. It is not like a perfect check-in, but at least it's like, okay, I got some data here I can use and then make that adjustment. And that's what we're doing, just like calculating numbers and making sure we're looking at the timeline and is she losing X amount per week to hit the target show date? And how does she look? Does she look 6 weeks out when she is 6 weeks out? How's her body responding? Is she still keeping her strength? Is she dying in strength? Is she time for a deload? Whatever. So all these things are happening basically all at once on the check-in. I've done, I can't even imagine how many check-ins I've done at this point in my life, but thousands and thousands. I mean, probably in the tens of thousands. It has to be in the tens of thousands. So at this point, so for me, it's like pretty easy. I just see the patterns. Like, it's like so easy. It's funny because I I've had like 3 assistants like helping me like at a certain point, but I'm so much faster than trying to teach them
Yeah.
that I just can't work with anyone. Like it slows me down, doesn't like speed me up. Because it's just, for me, it's so easy, but for everyone else, I just realize how my pattern recognition of it at this point is just so like intuitive. It's just like, oh, it's that, it's like, it's like,
you're
oh.
a very efficient person, I would say.
So it's like that's what I had one in here. She's like, how do you even manage all those screens? Cause I'm like diving through screens all the time. So it's like, I guess I've just done it for too long to have someone help me with it. But it just becomes kind of second nature at a certain point. So, all right. So that's the diet starting point. I'm starting mine at like a 500 calorie deficit. 500 calories is kind of like the golden rule of deficit, because it will equal 1 pound of fat loss per week if it's exactly 500 calories. So 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of fat loss. And that's how I'll kind of like base the initial one off of, which that one, the BMR calculator will be accurate for exactly, if you're in exactly that 50% profile, 50%, not, anything being faster, anything being slower, you're exactly average, right? Which is not as common. A lot of times, like we said, you'll get people who are a lot slower burners. People will gain weight at those calories. People will lose way too much weight at those calories. So you just need that kind of base starting point. And then once you get that, then we can kind of work with it, as we said. So then it comes into, so that's like, as far as that goes. All right. Well, actually, I should go into gaining too, since we're on that,
Actually, before you go into the gaining,
Yeah.
I thought of something. What is your opinion on the metabolic tests?
So
and helping determine your diet? What do you have to say about that?
So I have a indirect calorimeter, which is called, which is basically a machine where you blow into it for 10 minutes, and you just blow air into it, and it gives you a more accurate analysis of your resting metabolic rate. I have found that to be very accurate. So the one thing that the testing will do is it saves me that initial guessing phase where I'm kind of guessing checking, where I'm like, at first I'm kind of guessing checking, but usually I'm pretty good at guessing checking now because I have the client's previous diet. And then with the client's previous diet, calories gives me kind of some insight to where I should target the calories. So for example, if I had that said 2,700 calories for me, but I was only eating 1,500 calories for the last 6 years, I'm probably going to push it closer to that 1,500 calories because I have that data. But in order to avoid those like first weeks of guessing checking, yeah, that really does. To be honest, it works really good. I was surprised how well it worked. In Denver, things were a lot different. It was a little bit more local. We had an online team, but it was a lot of local people would fly in for it, and we were doing those tests all the time. In Vegas, everything just kind of turned online after 2020. Honestly, everything is like online, and everyone, like, people they go to their gym, but they don't like make trips like they did before. It was like a thing before. So we don't do it as much anymore. I still have the machine, but yeah, I like it. I like that machine a lot. So
yeah, I remember I tried it when I first started working with you, and I think mine was like 1,500 or something like that. But I figured that was pretty accurate given my diet and my rate of weight loss. So I thought it was accurate.
Yeah,
for me.
Yeah, and if we put you in the same calculator, I bet you it's going to have you closer to 1,900. But
you think so?
No, on the online, yeah, but not in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I think that was 100% accurate based on how you respond and how your off seasons are. I mean, you off season at 17 to 2,000 calories, so it makes perfect sense, right? But in the BMR calculator, I'm guessing it would put you a little bit higher on that. So I'm not putting this on the thing, but yeah, I'm guessing it would have you closer to, with your exercise activity level. I'm guessing. I'm actually gonna run the numbers real quick.
Okay. Ooh, we're doing this live.
Yeah, well, it's not. You guys can't see, but I'm seeing what the calories are. Yeah. Oh, actually, has you at 1,300. Wow, I was surprised. Oh, not counting your exercise. I'm sorry, not counting your exercise.
Well, I'm not doing cardio right now, but
okay. So you're with exercise, yeah, 1,965.
Okay.
1,876 to 1,985. So yeah, it's a little over. It shoots a little. Oh, no, that's about the same if you take into account activity. That's just your resting.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Okay. So about similar. So look at that.
Well, there you
Crazy.
go.
But that's it. People are, see, what's so funny is that, so your resting metabolic rate assumed it was 1,280 calories per day. And then people will lose it if you're at 1,200 calories. They'll be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're at 1,200 calories."
Oh
like,
my God, starvation.
She's gonna starvation mode. She's gonna die. It's so unhealthy. And I'm like, that's like her. She's a small person. Like the smaller you are, the less you burn, guys. So yeah, looking at that info, that's a baseline. Now, when we go into muscle building, you don't go as a rule of thumb of 500 calories more. You don't need as many calories to build muscle, guys. So to lose fat, it takes 3,500 calories, but to build muscle, it doesn't take 3,500 calories. It's not 1 pound of muscle, 3,580 calories, or 3,500 calories. I'm forgetting the actual numbers. I should know this off the top of my head, but it's to build muscle, you only need someone in a very slight surplus, because you can't add 500 calories worth of energy to muscle per day. It's not gonna happen where you're just synthesizing that many grams of protein and you're just like building that much muscle. So you just need to be in a slight surplus, and that's why I'm so, it's like a science thing. I'm not just against people bulking because I don't want, like, I'm like anti-calorie, you know.
Adam is anti-calorie. Spread the word. Anti-calorie.
Anti-calorie.
We're gonna have all these like
science.
protest signs. Anti-calorie.
I'm like an anti-calorie activist coming in the front. That's the next one. That's the next one. So it's that you just don't need to bulk, because the people think I'm going to gain a pound a week. I'm like, you can't gain that much muscle in a week. Doesn't matter who you are, what you're taking. Like, a pound of muscle is a lot of muscle. Like, maybe if you're like a 300-pound giant and, loaded up on PEDs, maybe, right? But we're talking bikini competitors, like, it's not going to happen. So if you're gaining a pound a week, it is not all muscle, no matter what you convince yourself. A lot of these girls like post pictures like, I'm bulking, I'm gaining, this, look at how much muscle I have. And I'm like, that is not all muscle. It doesn't happen where girls gain 20 pounds of muscle in one off season, right? It doesn't work that way. So yeah, my calorie surpluses won't be crazy high. They won't be, 500 calories, 1,000 calorie surplus trying to gain a pound plus a week. It's going to be like trying to just gain maybe a quarter pound a week, because you're only going to be able to get in, we're talking 50 to 100 extra calories a day, like, towards muscle. It's not a lot. Like, it's different. And people always confuse the fat versus muscle gain. So if example for me, at 2,700 calories is my estimated burn rate, I'm going to be dieting at somewhere between 2,000 and 2,200 calories, but my gaining would be somewhere around 2,800 calories, maybe 29 tops. So, and then I'll just track it weekly. Am I gaining enough? Am I gaining the weight I'm gaining? Is it all body fat? Is my inches on my waistline going up? Do I look softer in my pictures? Am I looking at all the key signs? We've been doing this for years, so I can see it when someone's gaining body fat versus them gaining muscle. You could see it, all the key areas getting softer, all those little things, why we need pictures. So then you just pull it back, so it's going to be very person by person. As I keep eating higher calories, and building muscle, my calories will continue to go up, and sometimes it goes up faster than others. And sometimes, you got to drop the calories. The body's a crazy machine. What calories that work this week might not work next week. So that's why we do the weekly check-in. So anything I'm missing there?
No, I think you covered it. And I want to emphasize, especially when you're prepping and stuff, don't assume every prep is the same, because I'll get asked, how much cardio do you do for your prep when you're 3 weeks out? I don't know. Depends. Am I coming off a show from last season or not? So a lot of factors will come into play here,
Yeah, for sure. And then this is the part where we go into bodybuilding being not what a registered dietitian would give you. And this is where like dietitians' heads or doctors will be like, their heads will explode. We're like, well, I can't believe you're eating this much protein. I can't believe you're eating that few of carbs. And like, you understand, guys, this is not, and you guys all need to take this into account for the bodybuilding side of things. This is not a health and fitness diet. It's not designed to be health and fitness. It is designed to be physique related, like extreme physique changes. Is it healthy? Yes. For almost everyone, it's healthy for the most part. There's very few people where it might not be the healthiest diet for them if they have some type of underlying condition. And then you have to really look at how to change it to be more healthy. Usually in the protein, it's protein is the culprit there for some people who might have kidney issues or things like that, or someone who has like high cholesterol or cholesterol issues where they have to really minimize things. But that's pretty rare. But yes, we're going to go over most of the markers that you're going to see in the books. And
yes.
Like doctors specifically, like, oh, I can't believe you're taking all this protein. It'll shut your kidneys down. It's like the doctors. I love doctors. We need them, right? We love the guys. They've saved millions and millions of lives. But in terms of the nutrition stuff, a lot of times, if they're not well versed in it, they'll just hear of anything and be like, oh, can't believe you're taking that you're like a TRT or something, like can't believe you're taking that testosterone. It'll kill you in 10 years. It's like what, I'm working with a specialist. Like, this is what they do. So just understand this is going to be different than what you're going to hear.
I guess you could also apply the role of, you say, oh, you train how you want to look, right? So a marathoner, that's why we're not really running miles, right? In bikini. Same thing could be for the diet. If you want to look like your aunt with your, you have the same diet as your aunt, you're gonna look like your aunt, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll apply it there.
Yeah, 100%. And so the next part's going to be, you know, how much protein should you be eating? And that's going to be different too, based on what part of what phase are you in? You know, if you're, gosh, the protein one itself is like, it should be its own episode, because it could be pretty high, you know, it's just dependent on the person. So let's say, what are the benefits of protein consumption in terms of the diet? One, the ones we're after is going to be, you know, for the most part, building muscle. But the ones that people don't talk about is it's really, really hard to store protein as fat. Like the process to go through to convert proteins to for simpler form for everyone to understand, carbohydrates, to store it as fat. Like it is so hard to go through that process for the body. That is the last thing it wants to store as fat. So it's really difficult. I mean, it's really difficult unless you're eating a ton of protein and really high in calories. It's really unlikely it's going to be stored in fat. So it gives us three working things that it can work with in the body. One, helps us build a lot of muscle. Hard to store as fat, the hardest macronutrient to store as fat, and a lot of satiety.
Yes, I was gonna say you better say that one. Yes.
So I mean, when you eat a big protein meal,
right? I'm like full for like the next 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Jeez, you gave up the secret.
No, but I think we can all refer back to a time where maybe one weekend we just ate all carbs, and one weekend we had some more satiating protein. Yeah, you're not going to feel the same amount of fullness eating carbs all day, right? Yeah. So maybe fat's a little more close to that, but even then, in my opinion, much more satisfying, and I stay full for a long period of time.
Yeah, and so when you talk about how many calories per 100 that could be stored as fat, right? This is going to be different for everyone, so don't take this as a solid rule, but as like a good kind of estimate. Protein is going to be somewhere around 70 calories per 100 or less, give or take. You know, the way that they digest is going to be different. 70 calories or less can be stored as fat, right? That's like the estimated amount. Then you have carbs going to be high 70s per 100 can be stored as fat. So a little bit easier on the carbs, but even carbs are pretty difficult. But fats, 98 calories per 100 can be stored as fat. So in terms of like risk of what macronutrient I want to kind of minimize on, like especially in a caloric surplus, I'm going to probably target off of fats more, because it's just so easy to be stored as fat. And I'd rather have high volume meal that keeps people full than like a low volume fat that's higher risk to be stored as fat, right? So it's, you know, it's person by person. Everyone's different. Some people, fat will make a lot of people feel full too. So you got to play with whatever works for you. But the golden question becomes, how much protein should I eat? And that is like all over the place. And honestly, no one's really wrong. Like that's the problem with this, is like, no one's really wrong. If I have a client who I've ran her labs and she has really healthy levels on everything and everything's good, and she's really, really hungry still all the time, might increase her protein to some crazy amount, might increase it to, you know, 120-pound athlete to, you know, maybe 180 grams of protein. Like that's, if nothing's showing as wrong, then why not? And she's feeling a lot more full that way. She's able to stay on her diet a lot more. She feels happy and satiated. I know she has more than enough protein to build muscle at this point. And, you know, and she's just sticking to her diet that way versus, you know, okay, maybe I have her at 1 gram per pound, 120 grams of protein. She's hungry all the time. I'm questioning if it's enough protein right now. So it's different per person on those things, but also depending on how hard you're working out. What supplements are you taking? Are you natural or not? You know, if you're not natural, that changes the protein, like the amount of protein you can take in substantially, right? So all these different factors going to go in per person on proteins. But if you look at like research, they'll say that 0.8 to 1.2 grams of protein is pretty standard to build muscle, as like the most amount of muscle you need, like per kilogram, which is like barely any protein. We're talking like half a gram of protein per pound. But you got to remember, that's regular muscle building. That's not, hey, advanced bodybuilders who are doing everything right, sleeping. And then it doesn't take into account people, maybe they're taking even stuff to help them build muscle, PEDs and whatnot. So yeah, overshooting, if you're taking 1 gram per pound, technically you're overshooting in a lot of books. But in bodybuilding experience, in more cases than not, that's about the right amount, maybe even more than that. And it depends on, how your labs come back. If your labs are coming back and they're not great, and, yeah, that's something that you're going to want to monitor and maybe bring down in some scenarios. I have some clients that have to eat a little less than 1 gram per pound because of those reasons. So actually right now I only have one, but she's putting on great muscle and still, so it does work. She's a natural girl putting on great muscle. A little bit, she had, pre-existing kidney issues, and her doctor said she could only have, what does she have? She's like 120 pounds. I think she got up to 97 grams of protein, I think is what it is right now. So, but it's been climbing and getting her labs back, and it's been able to get closer and closer. We started off with even less than that when we first started. So, and then, your protein selection matters too. Like, how hard is the protein on your body to digest? If it's really dense, hard meats to take in, then yeah, maybe an easier digesting protein would be easier on the kidneys too and stuff. So it's just, you could see how crazy like per person diets get,
Yes.
And then, so that's part of it. What else do we have to take into account, Ashley, for the client?
I would say just adherence too, because I don't know, there's diets that are going to work for you for sure, but how long? And are you going to be miserable doing it? Or are you going to be like just living your best life? I think that's another thing.
Yeah. Probably the biggest saying that I have is the best diet is one you can stick to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Best diet is one you can stick to. So what does that mean for that client, right? What can you, everyone wants to be hardcore. When I was younger and like super in bodybuilding, I didn't care what it was, like what the hardest, courest way possible. If it meant an extra gram of muscle would be built on me a month, I would do it. I didn't care. Right. But that was a different level of extreme. No way I would do that right now. Right. I'm not eating, boiled chicken breast and tilapia out of a Tupperware, out of a plastic bag with, minimal seasonings or whatever. So what's going to work for me right now? Is it me tracking macros, right? Just tracking macros, but staying within my diet. Maybe that's for me. Maybe that's something I can stick to. And when I diet, I do that right now when I'm dieting, but mostly I just eat clean. If I gain a little, I cut it down a little bit, but when I'm going serious, I'll just like track my macros and whatnot. Still eating mostly clean foods. And still having foods out every now and then. That might be something that works for you. Is it the best, most effective way? Probably not. Probably the least accurate way of reporting too, but it might work for you. But maybe you're someone in the middle and you're like, hey, I can stick to my diet like almost all week, and I just need one meal a week, right? Just to stay with my husband or with my boyfriend or with my friends and be able to go out and do something once a week. And in that scenario, we can make that work, right? You got to find what works for you. There's a lot of options within that, where maybe it's, a cheat meal once a week where you're counting the calories, or, some loose calories you could play with throughout the week. Maybe it's macro tracking. Maybe it's macro tracking 1 meal per day versus, or 2 meals per day, and the rest is a menu plan. Like, there's just, the closer we can get to the menu plan and accurate reporting, as you can see, is better. But it could be based on, but we have to have you adhere to the diet. There's no benefit to us giving you a strict menu plan when you're off 3 out of 4 weeks, or even off. Honestly, if you're off 1 out of every like 3 weeks, it makes it difficult to coach, because that 1 week you gain more back than you lose in those 2 to 3 weeks. And then we're just constantly in this cycle of trying to have another good 4 weeks,
Yeah. There's like 2 different types of people. There's those types of people that need the cheat meal, have something to look forward to feel normal, to stick with their diet. It's like motivation for them, something to look forward to. But then the other side of it is the girls that are like, don't give me a cheat meal, because I already know if I'm going to have this like piece of pizza, I'm going to want more and more and then more. So knowing that about yourself is also very helpful. Knowing how much control you have over these cravings and things like that. I think having that knowledge of yourself and being honest with yourself is very helpful. And if you can relay that information to your coach, even better. Most of the time your coach should be pretty understanding about that. If a client tells me, hey, I know I just can't have a cheat meal because I'm going to want more. Okay, got it. Or I can't have this in my diet because if I have 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, I know myself, I'm just going to keep going. Knowing these little things, these little quirks are super helpful too, because knowing that, I'm like, all right, let's just eliminate that possible risk.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. I have, so a lot of times in my post workouts, I'll have people have their carbs be any carbs that they want. Like, I'm like, just choose, have fun with the carb post workout, because you could kind of have those. And then a lot of times they're like, I don't want to have that freedom at all. Like, I don't even know what to do. I get lost. Like, I get lost when I'm just picking whatever 30, 40 carbs from whatever I want. So just tell me what to eat. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll tell you what to eat. So yeah, it's just different. It's so funny how it's so different for people, right? And it makes it fun, makes coaching fun too. But it is, some people are super regimented. You're like, do you talk about giving them free calories or free meal? They're like, no way. Like, just give me extra rice. It's so funny. So yeah, that's I think that's the biggest one on the adherence to the diet. And then we get a lot of questions from clients throughout the preps as well. Actually, I got a question here from I Jump Instead. I wonder if they're like a hurdler like you were.
Maybe a jump roper.
Oh, okay. Could be. That makes more sense. Says, do you think fit model competitors should eat less protein to keep muscle development smaller and then eat more carbs to be able to do more cardio? So yeah, the thing with fit model, we have to, you want to have, so the thing about fit models, they want you to have some muscle. So it's still a muscle division. Like, they still want you to have a good muscle base. But I would never intentionally shrink, like minimize how much muscle someone gained until they already maxed out the division. And then once they max out the division, that's when I would take it in consideration. So if you're at that point of your lifting career where you've maxed out the fit model criteria, in that scenario, I still wouldn't really minimize their protein intake if they've built up a good base on a certain protein intake. I would just do things to be maintaining that client. So I guess indirectly, I'd probably lower their protein because they would probably have less overall calories because they're just going to be in maintenance phase mostly. And they're having less calories because they are working out less per week because they're in a maintenance phase. So in a growing phase, they might be working out 6 days a week. In a maintenance phase, they might be working out 3 times a week. So naturally, they'll burn less calories. Naturally, they'll have less post-workout needs. And then naturally, they'll have less protein. But it won't be like to minimize their muscle growth. It'll just be part of the natural, like, you work out less, so you need less protein type of scenario, So I guess that would, she jumps on trampolines.
Oh, mini trampolines.
That's cool. Mini
That
trampolines
like
too.
fun.
Yeah. You see those people that do that cardio, like in Brazil, they have like a handle and it's a treadmill or a trampoline. Have you seen that? And they jump on it for cardio.
I think
it's like a class.
I think I've seen that other places too.
It's insane. It looks so cool. It looks so fun.
It.
Dude, the Brazilians and exercise is where it's at. They have like some fun stuff. And then I saw like, did you see it? I think I might have sent it to you on Instagram. We meme a lot. There is a class, like a cardio class in like Asia where it's like a party. It's like a full-on club and they're on bikes and there's like a full-on club on a bike. Like, it's lights, everyone like dressed.
Oh, I sent it to you and I was like, man, if this is what it takes to get motivated, wow.
Yeah, right.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah,
it's like a concert on a bike.
It was crazy, right? Like, how do you?
I mean, it seems like fun, but also like that's. Whew.
It does seem fun though. It would be. I mean, yeah, but if that's the only way I'm doing cardio, I'm just I need to just go and do something else. So, but yeah, that was people are getting crazy with this cardio stuff. That's off topic. So, any other questions? Throw them in there. Now, as far as what are we missing here, Ashley? What am I missing now? Got the calories. We got the protein requirements.
I think a good little side topic to jump into, because a lot of people are wanting to know about the timing, and especially with the protein, because I believe you mentioned there's been recent research that you can actually eat more protein at once and be absorbed rather than breaking it up.
Yeah, that is a true thing. And then there was always this thing going around, and I don't know, where it started. It never really made a lot of sense to me, just intuitively, but I never had proof of it, where people said, oh, you can only take in, like, I think it was 25 grams. Like, it was like the rule, like everyone thought, oh, they can only take in 25 grams of protein. Anything more than that's a waste for per meal. And then you do it every like 3 hours type of thing. Or, if you're a bodybuilder, you can take in 40 grams and then you can, every 3 hours, but any more than that, it's a waste. Like, don't waste your protein, right? It'd be tough on the kidneys and tough on this. And going back into that, very few people have that issue with their kidneys, but you can't say you're not going to have it. But it's very few people where if you're overshooting protein, where you have those big spikes in, like you're in your lab. So, so people were saying that, but then they did research, basically said, if you can eat 200 grams of protein in a day, and you can synthesize 200 grams of protein in a day. Basically, you can eat that kind of however you want, whether it's like, 3 times a day or 6 times a day or however you want to do it. You could kind of do that, which is funny because all things in meal planning always it always just seems to come back as the simpler, the better. We're overthinking it. And it just makes sense to me because if we think about, I always try to think about, okay, we're a very minimally evolved, I guess, creature, for lack of better words, since food became so easy. Like, you got to think, humans have been around for like thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, whatever you want to call it, right? And up until, a couple hundred years ago, food was not so readily available, so abundant, right? It wasn't like we didn't even have electricity, a couple hundred years ago, where we would have food stored like that. During a winter, it might be really tough to get food in your, so there just food wasn't always so accessible. So thinking about evolution from a couple hundred years ago, it's not that many people. I think we think of like 10 years as like a evolution. Like everyone thinks it's like, oh, like 10 years is like a new thing. Like a new decade is like a new thing. I'm like, no, dude, it's like 100 years is like 1.25 people. Like everyone lives at like 80, so your next, like your offspring, that's like you're 30 years old when you're having kids. So that's your evolution. So maybe it's, 200 years is like 6 people of evolution, right? It's not that crazy. It's like, 6, 8 people of evolution. Like you're not that much different from like 6 to 8 people ago. Like your great times 6 grandfather. Like you're not that much different. So you have to think, hey, if you go like 6 times, or your grandfather times 10, 12, 15, I mean, you're talking feast and famine, you're talking like, hey, I mean, if you go back like 30, you're talking chasing buffalo, like chasing buffalo, not eating for a week while you catch this buffalo, right? So we're not designed we haven't evolved to that point where we're used to eating every 3 hours like this. Like we're just, go to the refrigerator, get a protein shake. Oh, you're low in protein, get some powder. My ancestors used to have to chase a steer, right? For a week to try to get some meat. So when we talk about, what's realistic for us in terms of eating frequencies, it's not that much different. The body is an amazing machine, and it is trying to just, I mean, honestly, at this point, still probably just trying to survive and just get through and have enough nutrition to sustain itself and to stay alive, because that's how it was back then. And we're just very fortunate to live in the best time of ever in existence. Yes. I mean, there was this thing I was telling Kimber the other day. I was like, even if you're like mostly poor right now, your life is still better than some of the richest people in the world from like hundreds of years ago. Like the amenities you have, even if you have like, you're barely getting by in like an apartment.
I think about that. And then I also get pissed because I'm like, shoot, I should have been born 200 years later. Dang it.
We're going to be like,
shoot, this is like the worst.
Yeah, I know. And like 200 years ago, like they had to use their fingers. Like, I just keep mine socked up in my designer sock hands.
I hope in 200 years they figure out a way to make those hotel keys not deactivate next to your cell phone. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty minimal.
That's all I'm asking for.
I'm cool with going back to the old key on a chain thing. That happens so much. You know what I hate about it the most? The key cards deactivating is that like super smug guy at the front desk. He's like, did you have it next to your phone? like giving me that look.
Like how far away?
Like, did you have it next to your phone? It's your fault, not mine. I'm like, well, I have 2 pockets, guy. Eventually, probably I had it next to one. It's because you had it next to your phone. Like, dude, why haven't you made something to prevent that from happening at this point? Gosh, that's annoying. What sucks is every time that it happens to me, probably to you too, because you've got to go to the bathroom a lot too. I'm running into my room and I'm like, I got to pee so bad. I'm drinking so much water today. Go to my room and then you get the red flashing dot. And then you got to go all the way downstairs at a busy hotel. You're on floor 15. You're waiting every floor. Every time you got to go to the bathroom. That happens. I don't know.
That happened to me after prejudging at the Olympia one year at not Orleans. I'm sorry, Orlando, the Orlando Avante Palms or whatever. Yeah, that was happened like 4 times because I swear they got my code or something wrong too. Anyway, let's get rid of that.
You're very that seems very you like very minimal that you want. I want like floating everything at that point. So like cars, everything.
Or calorie less food. What?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want that. That'd be dope. That'd be just like, oh, I'm just not gonna eat calories today, but
It's
it's
gonna
still
be
gonna
so easy to diet.
I'll
then.
just eat the calorie-free hamburgers and pizza today because I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. That'd be pretty cool. So all right, well, so off topic. Where are we at? So let's go into meal frequency. That's right, meal frequency. How did that happen? How did we end up there? We're in space and stuff. Like
200 years.
Okay,
from now, and then you talk about your ancestors.
So it was me. Okay, yeah, it was me. It makes sense. So, so when we talk about meal frequency and where we're at, you got to look at humans and how evolved we are. Yeah, you're not gonna like when people are like, "Oh, I'm gonna go catabolic after eating 3 hours." I'm like, dude, you could chase a bull for 3 days and probably, like you're not losing that much muscle. Your body is still that. Your body is still 7 people ago chasing animals for food, right? It's like it's not that anymore. It's still that, right? It's just 7 people ago. So you're not that evolved. So in terms of meal frequency, and this has been tested too, when they tested the efficacy of eating more frequent and diet and losing more body fat. And gosh, I don't want to quote the study wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. The first study they did was, I'm forgetting the meals. I hate when I do it wrong because it's a study, but it was like 2, 6. Yeah, it was like 2, 6, and 8 meals. No, 3, 6, and 8 meals. I think that was what it was. And then with that, they showed like very minimal difference between all of them. And then they did it again with more extreme. They did 2, 6, and 12 meals, and it was very minimal difference between all of them. So they did that 3 different times. I don't want to quote the meals because it's like an older study that I'm forgetting, but it was just high volume of food versus low volume, or high volume of frequency versus low volume of frequency of meals, and they showed very insignificant differences, like very nominal differences between eating more meals per day and eating less meals per day, to the point where it basically didn't matter, is what the study showed. So it was like, okay, does it really matter if I eat twice a day or 10 times a day? And they're like, no, just eat how you want to eat, So the one time that we will always take into account is going to be that post-workout meal, though. That one I do think is important. There's been, there's also arguments even against that in studies. But again, a lot of times the studies don't go into bodybuilder needs. And so I always take that into account too. But when you're done working out, it does seem like you have a better ability to absorb nutrients. It'll help you with your recovery a little better. It'll help you with increased rate of protein synthesis after your workouts and whatnot. So it just seems like that'd be a good time. And even if it's not, it's like, why not? Why not get that nutrition in? You're gonna have to eat it anyway. So there are arguments against it, arguments for it. More of them are for it than against it. So I always err on the side of caution and giving that people that workout nutrition, where at least it looks like at minimum they can absorb more glycogen into the muscle when the muscle is glycogen depleted from a hard workout. So I will say at minimum that one will be the meal that I'm like, okay, let's get that workout nutrition right so we can make sure the recovery is there. So amen to that.
Amen to that.
Amen to the post-workout. So
hallelujah.
So, and the post-workout nutrition too, because you are needing more glycogen and you're needing to fill those muscles back up. I like having fun with those carbs personally. I'll
take it to the movies, go on a stroll at the park, have a little fun with those carbs.
I hold hands and play a nice song with the car, with my carbs. I'm imagining it like this happy day with like a piece of bread in hands and like all happy with these carbs. So some dumb song on. So yeah, well, because you can have, at that point you want kind of a higher glycemic index carb post workout. I'll tell clients, have fun with it, go into, have sugar-based carbs in that post-workout, spike that insulin, get those nutrients to the muscle faster. Have fun with those carbs. Your body's in need of them at that point. So some clients do gummy bears and frozen yogurts and cereals and stuff post-workout. Like that's a time to have fun. And if you don't want to do that and have the fun with them, whatever, have some fruits with it, have a banana with it, whatever. But it is a good time to take advantage of that, kind of earn those fun carbs,
Yes.
So
it might be some motivation for your workout. Like, I got this big bowl of cream of rice and a banana waiting for me with some protein powder. I'm going to kill it. I got to earn this bowl.
There you go. Yeah. Ashley's on the cleaner side of carbs, as you can tell. Like she goes to
cream of rice. But they were supposed to be fun. I love cream of rice.
I know. See, but that's great.
Cream of rice is great.
But it's you train your taste buds, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
you have to flavor them correctly though.
Yeah.
You have to let that cream of rice cool like a little bit and then put the protein powder in, mix it. So good.
You're such a good what we call this, chef, like a
Prep
bodybuilder chef. Yeah, like a bodybuilder chef. Like that's
Yeah.
what's really helped you, I think, succeed with how well you do all of your meals in
Mhm.
your, like that's like another trick, you know.
Mhm.
Kimber made some protein bites yesterday. I'm like, how is this even, like, how does anyone have a hard time dieting? Like these are so good. You know, it's like, I don't know, they're like little cookie balls. I don't know what to call them, but they're great. And she's like, yeah. And she just, you know, she goes off. I eat like 2 or 3 of them. She's like, there are 4 grams of protein, this and that, or like 8 grams of protein, 4 grams of fat. Like she knows all the stats. And so it's like, man, how does anyone, these are so good. You know, everything's so good these days. So, all right, what are we missing with that? I think we got
I
that.
think we got it.
Yeah, we got that. And then and everything else, you know, you want to kind of even it out, you know, throughout the day, how many meals you want per day. If you have to have 2 grams of protein per day and you're only eating 4 meals a day, well, guess what? That's 4 meals, right? So you kind of figure out what makes sense for your lifestyle. And, you know, and if you're a nurse, a lot of times we get these questions. Well, what if I can't eat for 12 hours a day because I'm a nurse? You know, well, then you eat when your shift starts and you eat when your shift finishes. If you have a break in between at hour 6, then great. Then have some food there. If not, it's not going to make or break you. You know, it's not going to be the key to you either succeeding on stage or not succeeding on stage. It's, you know, it's 3 days a week probably at that schedule. And you're going to have, you know, some less meal frequency on those days. No big deal. So yeah, so it's not as crazy as we think it is, guys. It really always comes down to the same stupid things. Eat less, burn more. However you got to do it, you got to do it. Follow some golden rule of thumbs. And there it is. Let's do one more. There's one more question. I haven't read it yet. Make sure it's right. It says, I weight train at 5 a.m. Is it important to eat beforehand since it's so early? And that's going to be person by person. What do you ever do that fasted?
No, because I'm always hungry when I wake up.
Yeah.
I don't ever fast.
See, I've been through phases where I could do it fasted. But then a lot of times now I get hungry like midway in the workout and I'm thinking about food and it like ruins my workout.
Yeah. Yeah. I know there's people that get hungry only like towards the evening. I'm only like hungry in the morning. Yeah. I think that's my hungry time is in the morning to the afternoon, and then it fades away by the end of the day.
Yeah. So as far as your question goes at doing it fasted, it really doesn't matter if you do it fasted or not. You got to remember, just like we talked about a little while ago, the human body, again, not evolved that much, right? It's only like 6 people ago, whereas like 200 years ago. You're fasted to be actually like fasted is not as what people think. People think, oh, I'm just fasted because I, you know, didn't eat since 9 p.m. last night. Like you have glycogen stored in your liver and your muscles. Like you're not like depleted down where that's going to be a huge factor. You still have ample amounts of energy in your body stored. You're not like calorie free and now all of a sudden you just have 0 calories where you're like super fast. Like you've eaten since 9 o'clock. Like you're fine if you want to do that. So it's just up to you and how you feel on those days. You know, to be actually like depleted down where you're like, you know, glycogen stores are depleted where it would make an impact. It would take you like a week of not eating to get those glycogen stores like fully down. So not that big of a deal if you want to wake up and do your cardio, you know, fasted and you'll be fine. You know, it's just person by person based on your energy, but I would definitely eat right after the workout because you haven't had any protein in your system for a long time. And that's one thing that, you know, you want to get that protein in your system, those amino acids in your system to help with recovery right away. Even if you're in a big deficit where you're not having that many carbs right now, just get the protein at least. So yeah, I guess there with that, we'll go. But again, guys, let's have these ones, you know, whether it's a question for Ashley and her experience and something that would be really helpful for you guys. We want to get some good topics and kind of go from there and kind of, yeah, do some fun stuff with this, you know?
Heck yeah.
I think it's a good turn.
That's
so
what's up.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Talk to you later.
See you Saturday.
See you Saturday.